Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our big movie podcast. I am Anson Chan,
And I'm Paul Morgan.
and today we're talking about The Neon Demon.
And John Wick 2, Chapter 2, Volume 2, Chapter 2.
I want my John Wick too.
John Wick
Well,
number 2.
to start us off, Paul, should we talk about The Neon Demon?
Yes, we should.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, man. Okay, so The Neon Demon came out in 2016. So last year, it was written and directed by the uncomparable Nicholas Winding Refn. It stars Elle Fanning, Keanu Reeves, and then Jenna Malone, and a bunch of people I have never heard of before. So there's that. It is about a young, budding starlet in the field of modeling who finds out that the modeling world is a little bit tougher than she anticipated. Let's just say. I just want to say before we discuss this,
Is it though?
after seeing this movie, Nicholas Winding Refn should never be allowed to write any of his own scripts. I say that because he wrote this script, he wrote the Only God Forgives script, and he wrote the Valhalla Rising script, all of which were incredibly beautiful movies with horrible scripts.
I mean, this
So-
script was amazing. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this story had so
Oh,
much
man.
depth.
Let me tell you, I debated before we started talking about this how nice I was going to be, because I typically try to be very nice, but I decided to throw caution to the wind, and I'm just going to say my real opinion. So
Go nuts.
before we get to that, Anson, what worked for you in this movie, if anything?
God damn it. I okay, the first opening scene was actually really cool. I loved the way that was shot. The main character, her name was Jessie, I think.
Yep.
Her friend, the redhead, I don't know who she's fucking played.
Jenna Malone, the makeup artist.
Yeah.
Ruby.
Ruby. Yeah, her friend Ruby. Oh man, dude, it's like when Ruby's like doing her makeup in the very beginning, and like it was all like soft and quiet and whispery, and the camera's like very pretty, and like I got like a lot of ASMR tingles from that.
Sure.
And for those of you who don't know what ASMR tingles are, it's like certain sounds and like with visual stimuli can like make your head kind of tingle, like that sensation you might get from like an endorphin rush or like a long run. And then like you kind of get that like that chill on the second wind kind of thing. So that's kind of like what I describe ASMR as, but very, very relaxing. So I got that just from the very opening scene, which is like, so where are you coming from? And like doing her like eyelashes and shit, and I'm like, oh, melty, yay! And so I really like that. And then I was hoping the rest of the movie was gonna be like that, and then it wasn't, and I was a little
No, it
disappointed.
was not.
Nah, yeah. And I was like, where's Ruby? Where's my girl? She's got to get back on the screen. And then like the next time she was on, I was just like completely botched. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck. So they got me with the hook, just to let me down even worse.
Yeah, that they did.
I liked seeing Keanu Reeves in the movie. I thought his performance was hilarious. Legit, we were watching John Wick 2 and Neon Demon for this, so you could not have like a very much more. Let's put it this way. It's hard to find more of a stark contrast in, like, I guess, character roles or performance, where John Wick
Yeah.
basically, he's like brevity, soul, wit kind of person, if you get it. And then this was just like super, super ham-fisted, overact, like,
Yep.
you have a really bad part, so just go nuts with it. And I was like, okay. It was like, oh no. Like, it was
Whatever
really
week this comes out is going to be declared Reeves Week by the Podcasters Association of America.
there you go.
So there was just so much Reeves.
There's a lot of Reeves to see.
There were reams of Reeves in this week's
It was-
offerings.
I liked at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is just the prequel to John Wick. This is the origin
This is what
story
John Wick did before he was a hitman.
before he killed 3 men with a pencil.
Uh,
So I was like, there you go. So I enjoyed that context as like a complete and total troll,
yeah.
and then like his role just was so it just did not suit him at all. Like they got
Yeah, like
Keanu
I
Reeves.
can't even imagine him being as bad of a guy as he was supposed to be in this movie because every interview, every Twitter photo, every AMA he does is just like, "Oh, I'm the most delightful person ever."
He's
And
when
I can turn on the serious when I need to, but I can't see him being as like awful of a person as he was
it
supposed
was
to be in this
really
movie.
funny. Like when he had the scene with like
Yeah.
her boyfriend,
Oh
the
yeah,
worst
dude.
actor. But anyway,
Oh man.
he was like, "Oh, you think she's something, huh? We should check out that 13-year-old in the room next door." It was like, it was so bizarre. It was fucking hilarious. It was like,
Yeah.
what? And then even like the non-acting like boyfriend of hers was just like, what? Like it was just so funny. Like that was like Tim and Eric level bad.
Oh yeah, that was except not on purpose.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty of it. It was just
Oh
like
man.
it was completely in the raw bad. So I enjoyed that. So that was funny. Some of the visuals in this were pretty cool. Like I think I lost a lot of its mojo at the very start for me. I actually thought this was a vampire movie when they opened up with like the scene where she's like just on the couch and bleeding. I was like, oh, this is a vampire thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
What else did I like about this? I mean, it has to be said that the camera work was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna also say we should give a big shout out to Natasha Breyer, who was the director of photography. She did a great job.
Yeah, the way they did like this, all like the visual symbolism and the flashing seizure-inducing lights and like
Yeah.
just like the shot choices was very interesting. It was very pretty to look at. Let's put it that way.
And that's something that Nicholas Winding Refn is known for in terms of his style. So, Only God Forgives, I did not really enjoy that movie, but it's gorgeous to look at. Drive is gorgeous to look at. There are lots of video essays on the sectional kind of shooting and Drive, how like different sections of the screen tell different stories. Valhalla Rising is beautiful to look at. Bronson is beautiful to look at. I've only seen the first in the Pusher series, but that is good looking as well. So he obviously knows what looks good on screen.
And to his credit, then Nicholas Winding Refn, I think he did an outstanding job in a most meta way ever by showcasing that there's very little substance to the model when it's all about the looks. This movie also had very little substance in the fucking movie and it was all about the looks. So it had that weird he was a genius. He could see through our disappointment in trying to get the message across about the people.
The accidental genius.
No, this has to be actual genius because there's no way he could make a movie this bloody awful without trying to have a larger say about the modeling industry or just making it in La La Land. So I don't know. Paul, what about you? What did you like about the Neon Demon?
Pretty much exclusively the visuals were the thing that I liked. I just thought like so many of the frames are so gorgeous, and like one of Nicholas Winding Refn's signatures is having like a very well-tempered kind of even frame in his shots. I will say though, I mean we haven't got to the negative thing yet, but like even the gorgeous framing of a lot of these shots was ruined by the fact that they just held on the shots for way too long. It's like, I hate to be like the studio exec kind of person that's like, you know, make your movie more tentpole-y, make it more inclusive, make it more accessible. But like, dude, if you just cut down some of those push-ins or some of those long holding shots to like a half their length, you would have probably had a way more interesting movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, but again, he didn't have the substance to fill in the blanks.
Yeah. So the shots were gorgeous. Not the whole time, but a good mess of the time. I reasonably was able to buy Elle Fanning as like a naive, if very, very vapid young model.
Really?
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think she was one of the. She and Jenna Malone were pretty decent. Most other actors were pretty awful. Although I did like the subtlety on the guy's face who played
The photographer.
no, not the photographer. The guy who played the runway guy. I forgot what his character's name was.
Jesus, he was only in there for like one scene.
The guy with the mustache?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the subtlety on his face was pretty impressive considering how little they gave him to do. But yeah, I mean, pretty much only the visuals impressed me. I also really like the scene where Elle Fanning's character Jessie is on the runway, and it seems like she's starting to like appreciate herself for the first time, really.
Okay, she's
And
starting to
there's that
become
kind of weird
vain.
mirror thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I think she definitely started to become vain, but at the same time,
that was like the transformation point because like
yeah, it's
directly
like her
after
one
that scene,
character turn, and I think it was edited and shot reasonably well.
I wish there was more of a gradual build up to her vanity because
Yeah, it seemed like it kind of came out of nowhere, honestly.
at that scene it was that's like the 180 scene because everything after that she's just a huge jerk and
Yeah.
with no explanation, and it's like there could have been a lot more interesting things to explore in how one becomes vain in that way from like humble beginnings kind of thing, like I'm an oil man, like that loss of
Sure.
humanity thing from No Country. But I think that was a huge miss on their part in what they could have captured in this film. But I guess maybe that's not what they wanted to do, because that would have given this film too much substance, and then they wanted to show how hollow the modeling industry is. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That was sarcasm, people. If you guys couldn't realize.
Yeah, so I guess that's all I really have to say that I liked. Is there anything that didn't work for you in particular? I mean, I know we could
Oh Lord.
list things for just about forever, but
All the acting, length of the movie, quality of script, another fucking I Can Make It in La La Land kind of movie. Like,
yeah.
for being as like I'm pretty sure low budget as it was, it tried to make itself super duper duper extravagant looking and feeling. I can respect that, but it was too over the top with like I said, seizure inducing effects at times. It was just like, come on, what's this? Yeah, he said holding on the shot too long. Like, you're showing the eyeball for like her eyeballs, like when the flashing runway. The eyeballs also play another scene, like importance later. This felt like an experimental short, or it should have been an experimental short, but then they just padded it out with just like really long flashing lights.
Yeah.
This should not have made it to a full feature-length movie. Like, how long was this stupid thing? 2 hours
2
or something?
hours.
God damn, man. This
It
should
was
have only
hour
been
and 54 minutes.
Like, for the story that it told, it only needed to be an hour. Like, an hour and a half if you would have done the backstory. But, like, cut so much of this shit.
An hour and 58 minutes.
I hated Ella Fanning's acting. Like, she was just fucking wallpaper the whole time. Just like watching paint dry kind of act. I just hated it. The only good acting, the only character I found remotely interesting, I think, was the photographer, because I thought he was totally gonna rape her in the beginning, but he didn't.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, and I was like, if this is gonna start out with a fucking sexual assault, I'm gonna just turn this off. And
I was mad interested too, because like, like I can totally see how this is actually like a real thing and a comment on, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that made
like
sense.
a comment on the modeling industry, because you assume that shit like that happens.
Yeah, I was like, okay, here we go. Take me on a ride. But he didn't. And I was also really interested. And I was like, oh, hey, he's just raping her with his art. And I was like, okay. So I was actually on board, because it subverted my expectation, right? So I liked his character.
Yeah, when he starts like rubbing the gold paint, I was like, thank God he's not like murdering her slash
Murder raping her.
molesting
Yeah.
her. Yeah, that was a huge sigh of relief because there was a lot of like awkwardness until that happened. Like when
Yeah.
they're at the party and they have that god awful conversation about are you sex or are you food? Like that was the most
That was so
cringy.
stupid.
That was
Oh,
the cringiest thing I've ever seen on film, dude.
I
Oh
love
my
that.
God.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. And she's like, my lipstick is red rum. I'm a food person. And it's like,
Yeah, and
red,
it's
red
also supposed to
rum,
be like that's the
The
most
Shining.
ham-fisted foreshadowing of
Yeah.
the murder. Like,
I
oh
know.
my God.
Oh,
That
man.
was so fucking lazy, dude.
Fucking terrible.
Like, literally, okay, so I went on a bunch of forums before I watched this movie, and I read people's reviews of it and shit, and, like, everyone on every forum was like, yeah, I thought this movie was, like, pretty okay, but the last 20 minutes were amazing. And I was like, okay, someone's gonna go on a murder spree in the last 20 minutes. And then the second I start the movie, that red rum line makes it in there. I was like, oh my God, that is so ham-fisted. You could not be more lazily foreshadowing a murder.
So
Like-
for those of you guys who don't know what the red rum reference is that we're talking about, it's a scene from The Shining, and the little boy has like an imaginary friend named Terrence, and then he'll like sometimes speak through him. He has this power called The Shining, hence the name. And in one scene, when Jack Nicholson, as Jack, is going crazy, Terrence's little imaginary friend like kind of like takes over, and then he writes on a mirror red rum, right, or like on a wall or something.
But with
And so
the
the
backwards R.
Yeah, and so then the mom's like, "What's going on, Terrence? Like, or what's going on? Why are you doing this? Is like, don't play with mom's lipstick." And when she looks in the mirror, she sees it says murder, because red rum backwards is murder, and then she freaks out. And then Jack Nicholson's coming out with the axe, and then here's Johnny and all the goodness. So that's the red rum reference.
When she said that, I was like, did this really make it on screen? Did they really allow this to happen?
Yeah, dude, it was like, what the fuck? How did that not get like? There's creative integrity in like leaving certain things, but like that was so many questionable choices.
Yeah. And to add to this, okay, we're about to get through to some more stuff you disliked, but to add to this, I don't know if you recall, but when we watched Jodorowsky's Dune, the director of this movie both opened and closed that movie by saying that he was the only person in the world who's ever seen all of the storyboards for Jodorowsky's Dune. You know that kind of cocky guy with the German accent?
Yeah.
That's this director.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god. What a prick.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Doesn't that kind of help you realize some of the
Yeah.
decisions in this movie?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh. So, there's that.
Oh, that's so interesting. I wanted to also bring up the cougar scene in the very beginning, since we're now like kind of like I'm going through my diatribe.
Yeah, what in the heck was that?
At first, I was like, okay, they're gonna bring in some like weird, interesting symbolism. I'm gonna have to like they're gonna come back to this. I think that was like literally just a cougar in the room, like foreshadowing danger, I guess. Like it was funny seeing Keanu Reeves like pre John Wick being like, "Don't call the cops," you know, and then they go in and there's a cougar in the room. Just fucking John fucking Wick, man. Just so fucking weird, man. It was like, I wish there was more of that kind of bizarreness to this movie, because that at least keeps it more interesting than just the flashing lights. So there could have been more. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that really bizarre. This actually stood for society, man, or like people preying on the weak man. Who knows? Who the fuck cares? But just have something aside from just the camera effects, right? There could have been more of even just the bizarre cougars. And that's going very far, because I thought the cougar thing was really stupid anyway, but it still would have helped the movie.
Maybe they were doing maybe that scene was a tribute to Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. When
That's
he has
true.
to drive a
That's
car
true.
with the cougar in the car.
I didn't think about that. There's probably some influence there.
I think let's just decide right now, finally that is what the cougar scene was.
It makes sense now. It makes
It was
sense.
a tribute to the great Will Ferrell.
Because the red rum scene just before that, and then the cougar scene, that makes so much sense now. It makes so much sense.
Tribute to Stanley Kubrick, tribute to Will Ferrell. That's all
Yes.
this movie was.
So it needed more tribute then. There needed to be much more tribute, because that would have made it far more interesting.
Yeah.
The boyfriend I could not stand. That was like, I thought this was going to be like the Twilight romance after I saw how bad those two were. And I was like, okay, this is just for like a young girl to watch who's like budding, you know what I mean? Like to be like, oh,
Yep.
I'm that girl who just is so pretty that everyone's going to fall in love with. And there's the guy who doesn't even need to be a good actor because it's easy for the girl to put in her shoes like, this dude's a motherfucking, wet broomstick kind of thing, or wet towel. But it wasn't even that, right? So that was a really horrible actor, and an odd they didn't go farther with that because I guess it wasn't really about that. I don't know. I hate the fucking subject matter. I hated. Well, I didn't like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, right? Like this Hollywood jerk off shit. This felt like experimental Hollywood jerk off shit, and I thought, damn it, Paul. Why do you fall in love with these movies? But then I'm glad to hear that you also didn't like this movie.
Motherfucker, I didn't choose this movie because I wanted.
Wait, why'd you
to
choose it
watch
then?
The movie that ended up being there. I chose this because I love a lot of this guy's other movies, and I thought maybe he might have made another good movie.
Oh,
Yeah, dude, I didn't know what this was going to be about.
I thought this was like okay. I don't know.
I had never seen this. This came out last year, and I just wanted to see it.
Okay, because sometimes
So-
we see movies that like we've seen before for the sake of the
Sure.
podcast, and then this time I
This
thought
was
maybe you'd
not
seen
one
it.
of those. This was like, oh, I've liked a couple of this guy's movies, and I would like to see if this new one is any good, and it didn't work for me. So.
Okay, I'm sorry, that was a baseless claim then, but from my standpoint, you can see now where I was coming from.
That was a comment with a lot of history that I totally understand, but that was not true in this instance.
I'm very glad. The very end, spoiler, but don't worry, you don't gotta worry about this being spoiler. Don't see it. I spoiled our recommendation. Damn it! But anyway, when Ruby was like trying to get with her, like in that house, like, oh, don't worry, I'm house sitting. Like that's how you explain away this mansion. I know you want to do the mansion shot, right?
Sure.
I'm house sitting, and then like the whole like we ate her. I thought they buried her in the garden. Like I guess there's a symbolic thing of like we consumed the beauty and now we're beautiful. It's a dog world.
I'm gonna go ahead and say though that though I did say I enjoy this director, if the symbolism has to be explained because it is so clunky that you can't get it, or that you have to make comments like you just did about, I guess there was some then it's not good symbolism.
Yeah.
Like there were some things that I was like, okay, I get where that could be a symbol or something, but then there are some things where it's like, I read interviews with the director afterwards, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, the fact that you're explaining that and I don't relate to it at all means you did not put that well on screen. And that's not my fault as a viewer. I'm not a dumbass. But, I mean, some of the shit he said, I was like, there is no way that's what you intended, because that is
Can
the
you give me some
opposite.
examples?
Yeah, actually, I just pulled up an interview that I was gonna... Okay, so this is a quote from the director from his interview with Slant to answer the question,
That's
what do
racist.
the characters represent? Ha 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 ha, because you're Asian. Anyways.
Oh, you remembered.
It's been so long since I've seen you. I
know.
I didn't.
I
know
forgot
what you look like
myself.
anymore.
Me too.
So, Slant asked, what do the characters... The Asian man asked...
Thank you.
The Asian man asked, what do the characters represent? And his response was, you have Abby Lee, who's external beauty. That's his whole answer for her.
What?
Bella, who is a woman who tries to recreate beauty artificially. That's the woman who had all the surgeries, who talks about how surgery is okay and everyone hates their body. And his third example is, and then you have Jenna Malone, who's all about inner beauty, virginity, and innocence.
What?
Are you fucking kidding me?
First of all,
That is such a reach that it's not even funny.
both of those, the first two beauties were the same. The external beauty, and then a woman trying like to achieve the external beauty. Weren't those?
Yeah.
Didn't they just
Oh,
inhabit the
man.
same role?
I don't know like what the differentiator is supposed to be. Maybe that one had external beauty naturally and the other one is like getting all the surgeries and stuff. But it's just the Jenna Malone comment that just who's all about inner beauty, virginity, and innocence. None of that came across in her characterization.
Oh no, she was just pretty for no
Possibly
reason.
because her lines were so shitty. Once again, he should not be writing his own material ever again. And two, because if anything, her like archetype at first until her character turn is that of a protector, not like a virginal inner beauty innocent woman. That none of that comes off.
I'm gonna have to differentiate with you here because I got that from like when I said when I first saw this I thought it was gonna be a Twilight thing. This is for the every girl who's budding, like the virgin beauty thing. That came across for me, but like it just wasn't done well. I just felt like a shitty Twilight. That's what it says. I thought this was gonna be a vampire, like literally a vampire movie. So that's what I saw in the very beginning.
Interesting.
Yeah, but then
Yeah, I did not get that at all.
there was no recourse for that. There was no you lose your virgin beauty, not even because you had sex or because your attitude changed. You just get murdered, right? Which completely destroys that message. Which was just like, why even have that then?
Yeah, and for the record, for anyone listening, I posted a thing on my Facebook saying, "Hey, can anybody explain this fucking movie to me? Because I don't think I got it." And like a good number of the comments said something to the effect of, "The fashion industry will eat you alive. Beauty is an asset worth killing for." Blah 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 blah. So I mean, I get that, but like, I feel like this movie was too up its own ass and time wasty to really be effective.
Evan's comment that good movie that is funny.
Yeah, like me and that guy are gonna have to talk about movies someday because some of the shit he finds entertaining, I don't understand the purpose of.
I'm pretty
but
sure that's
okay.
like I'm pretty sure that's a mostly troll, but I would love to hear
No,
his
yeah, I'm
defense.
sure he's being sarcastic.
He
But
will go 100% to the like full dedication to just explain away how great this movie is.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he has the filmic language to do so. So I look forward to that 20-page essay any day
As well
now.
as just like the straight up just commitment to the craft of troll. Just like
Yeah, he just
you will
really
not know he
enjoys-
is joking.
Yeah, he just really enjoys being a contrarian because I'm sure for him it's just very funny to watch people's reactions.
Yeah. And like
Me and my
struggle.
friends always used to admire his online presence from afar because of how good he is at kind of just making people believe that he believes something. But okay, so
I've gone
is there
on
anything else you didn't
plenty.
like?
No, I think I've covered just about everything I want to. Paul, what about you? What didn't work for you, man?
Well, one thing I just really want to make sure I remember to mention, I do enjoy the soundtrack. I think Cliff Martinez makes good soundtracks, and I liked this one.
It was all like spacey and just
Yeah,
like
very spacey, very kind of dreamlike, which was cool. It supplemented the very saturated color visuals very well.
okay.
But
All the
I
xylophones.
did not like most of. What's that?
So many fucking xylophones in this soundtrack. I remember.
That too.
Anyway, go ahead.
I didn't like most of the acting. I didn't think the violence was effective or well done in almost any one of the scenes in which there was violence.
I can think of one.
What's that?
I can only think of one. Oh no, I can think of two. John Wick. John motherfucking Wick, man.
Yeah. I thought the character they cast Keanu Reeves for was absolutely wrong for him, and I will hold that against Nicholas Winding Refn forever. I thought the like I said, I read this article that kind of like summarizes some of these interviews with the director and kind of tries to give answers to his to questions that you might have about the movie. Some of his answers are like, dude, if that's what your answer is, fucking put that in the movie. Don't, I mean, it was so in your face about some stuff, and then other stuff, he's like explaining it away as if it was
Completely
meant to be
obtuse.
obvious. But it's
Yeah.
like the whole movie's in your face, and then you're trying to give us these little subtle things. Like, I think that's a marker of you being unsure about what the movie is, if I'm being honest. I mean, I don't mean to come down on him, but it's like I could probably talk about the themes in Drive or in Bronson at length because once he starts on a theme, he keeps going on that theme, and it's such a consistent way that it's like you pick up what the mode of the themes is and you pick up how themes are expressed. And this, it was like I saw a bunch of ham-fisted nonsense, and then someone had to explain it afterwards because people had a lot of questions. So
Mm.
I don't know. It's like for example, when I read that page that I was telling you I was on, he was talking about the mountain lion, and like he talked about how the mountain lion is a vehicle for Keanu Reeves's character to like blame Jessie for something that's not her fault. Kind of like victim blaming in like a sexual assault scenario. It's like, dude, everything else in this movie is so ham-fisted. How could you expect us to get something that
Wow.
subtle,
That's
especially with lines that are as ham-fisted as Keanu Reeves's lines were? I'm not
that's a
saying he's a
really
bad actor,
interesting
but he got some
explanation.
really bad lines.
I actually really like that explanation, but it did not come off as such. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it didn't come off as such, but when you hear it, you're like, okay, I can see how that would be a thing, but like,
I just saw that
don't,
more as
I
Keanu
don't
Reeves
know.
as being a complete and total like scumbag. But then again, that makes way more sense
Yeah,
in the
exactly. It's
context.
just like his one little moment of character development is that he's more of a scumbag than you thought. Big
Yeah,
surprise.
yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't really like most of this movie except for the visuals. Unlike you, I at times enjoyed Elle Fanning's acting.
Can you give me a
Um,
scene, please? I'm dying to
yes,
know.
dude. Okay, so the scene where she and that older model, who I think is probably in her early 20s.
Oh, they're talking about like getting the shots done, and like you're 20,
No,
you're 19 now.
when she and that older model are auditioning for the runway guy with the mustache, and the runway guy is like talking to Elle Fanning, asking her questions and letting her watch the other lady and then having her go up. And there's just that one static close up on her face. It's like neck up, and it's just her reactions to finding out that she's getting chosen, and then her reaction to how the guy looks at the other model, or rather doesn't look at her, and just her reaction to the, like her responding to the have you done runway stuff, how long have you been in town, what's your age, stuff like that. Like, I thought that was incredibly subtle, and it was back when her character still had her like innocence before she like started to become vain in that runway scene. But it was like a breath of fresh air because so much of the movie was just really badly acted, or like acted over the top.
Oh yeah, and then the girl cuts her hand and drinks her blood.
Yeah. And like, have you seen Drive?
No, I have not.
Okay, so in Drive, the acting's really well done in a subtle way, and occasionally there are parts that feel inconsistent with the tone of the movie where the acting is way over the top. Maybe one or two brief moments. In this movie, the acting is all way over the top, pretty bad for the most part, and then there's little subtle moments like that scene where it's like everything seems very subtle and well done and actually real, and it really worked for me really well. But I don't know. So that there's very few things that I enjoyed about this movie. That scene is a big one of them. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about what I didn't like. I pretty much did not enjoy most everything except for the soundtrack and the cinematography and set design.
Hmm.
So, would you recommend this movie? I want to get this one over with.
Paul, I most certainly would not recommend The Neon Demon. Would you recommend?
Yeah, I would not
The Neon
recommend
Demon?
it. No, I would not recommend it either. I would say if you liked Drive and you want to see something more interesting from this guy, check out the movies Bronson, Valhalla Rising, the first Pusher movie, and those ones are really special. But this one I had a trouble enjoying.
I can't even recommend it for like a troll. Oh, can we talk about the very end really quick? Because maybe you have the answer for me. Okay, first of all, Ruby fucks a corpse. Let's put that out there, everyone. Okay, it's not everyone's done it. We've all tried it.
There's definite necrophilia in this movie.
Everyone's tried it. It's not a big deal. But so
everyone's gone down to the mortuary, paid the guy who runs it $200, spent a couple hours poking around with your dick.
Or in her case, just her lady part.
Just her fingies.
Yeah.
Her dainty nubbins, as I believe they're called in England.
Yes. Thank you.
She poked around with her dainty nubbins, spit in the lady's mouth.
It's more it's like it's a trust thing. But anyway, so when she's jacking off at the very end and like just bleeds everywhere on the wooden floor of this empty mansion. Again, hollow beauty, ho ha ho. Just so meta. But anyway, what was the symbolism of her just like coming blood everywhere or gushing blood everywhere?
Dude, I have no clue, my man.
I wanted to hear what's his name explain away that because I was pretty like, oh hey, with the cougar thing. I would also like to know what the fuck was the bloody nubbin.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I have the article open right now, and I'm going to
Control F bloody nubbin.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I'm reading this, and it
hurts.
Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. Oh man. I'm just gonna read this so we can put a fucking nail in this coffin of a movie, dude.
Yes.
So they don't say anything about the bleeding on the ground, but they do talk about the necrophilia scene. And it says, after being denied by Jesse, Jenna Malone's character gets intimate with a dead woman at the mortuary. It was originally planned to be much different, and Refn explained to The Telegraph how it evolved. Jenna kissed the body, and I just said instinctively, can you spit in her mouth? So Jenna spat in her mouth. And then I go, okay, can you touch her? Jenna kissed the body, and I just said instinctively, can you spit in her mouth? After we cut, I was like, we found the character. It became this very fragile, melancholy scene. It did not come off for me, sorry.
What?
I did not get that. Refn goes on while peeling a hard-boiled egg. It was grotesque, but there was also something very sad about it. And after we cut, I was like, we found the character.
What? What the fuck does that mean? You found the character? What the fuck was the character?
Man. The character was Jeffrey Dahmer in a woman's body. No, I don't know. That just...
man.
Between these fragments of interviews that we've read out loud here and the interview he gives in Jodorowsky's Dune, I think we know just about everything we need to know about this character.
I would recommend Jodorowsky's Dune.
Yeah. Oh man.
Should we get on with
yeah.
Oh, did you recommend this? Sorry.
No.
Oh, I thought you recommended it.
You know what I would recommend is take some sort of hallucinogenic drug.
Oh, this will
invite a bunch of people over for a party, people you love and respect. Put this movie on in the background and turn the sound off so you never have to hear any of the god-awful dialogue. And then just watch the pretty colors dance in front of you for a little while, and then go to bed and have a nice 12-hour sleep.
And then leave all of your friends.
That's the only circumstance in which I would recommend this movie.
To invite your loved ones over just to watch you be high and watch pretty colors. That's pretty good. Yeah. Fair.
Oh,
fair.
God. So let's move on to John Wick Chapter 2. Do you want to tell us about that?
I would love to. John Wick Chapter 2 is about the titular character, John Wick, who has...
What's his name?
John fucking Wickman. Anyway, so John fucking Wickman is brought back into the life of crime by an Italian mafioso named Santino D'Antonio. He apparently owes him some sort of like blood debt or whatever, because in their weird shady
He gave
world,
him the little the trinket thing.
yeah, it's kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean looking kind of thing. So they must go back to their time on the Black Pearl. But anyway,
Yep.
so he shows his Black Pearl seal, and John Wick at first refuses, but then his house gets blown up, so he has to do it anyway after losing his house.
That he
And
does.
is contracted to do a hit on someone he would not like to. I won't spoil that, I guess. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, this is a relatively newer movie.
Yeah. After which Santino D'Antonio wants to kind of kill John Wick for, I guess, the only reason to just be like, make it kind of like a better cover up, I guess. So he kind of set him up to do the job and then kind of like shut up the loose end, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though it's not even about like him talking, it's just more about like anyway, spoilers. So John Wick then spends the rest of the movie killing hitmen who were contracted to kill him, and then take revenge out on on Santino D'Antonio. And then, real quick spoiler, is kind of like exiled from the underground from which he's a part of. So,
Yeah.
Paul, please tell me, what did you like about John fucking Wick?
I mean, not to diminish the cultural impact that these movies have had, but like the only thing that I like about both of them is consistent in both of them, which is the action and the cinematography.
I would disagree with the action. I'd agree with the cinematography.
I think that in the first one, and this is a big point where you and I disagreed, the dialogue and the acting of most of that dialogue was pretty bad. And I think in this one it was just as bad, except maybe even a little worse. But I think where this movie shines and what this movie is principally about is the fact that it is designed and directed and executed by people who are veterans of the Hollywood stunt world. And so the stunts are where it shines, and that's what I loved about this one. I enjoyed the opening part where John Wick like kills all those guys and then has a drink with that guy who's been in like every single movie ever.
A professional courtesy.
Yep, I enjoyed him getting outfitted in Italy because of how beautiful a lot of the cinematography was in that. I enjoyed almost every single fight scene because I love the kind of jujitsu, judo, gun work combo that they gave Keanu Reeves to practice. I figured out this time, which is something I didn't figure out the first time, if I care too much about the dialogue or the other actors, I'm just going to be disappointed.
Well, then you
And
really
so
must have
I
liked.
decided going in. What's that?
You must have liked Ruby Rose, that the mute assassin or the mute hit lady.
I enjoyed her. She wasn't one of the highlights for me, but I mean,
That was semi sarcasm because she had no speaking parts.
yeah, I understand. I mostly enjoyed the action. The cinematography is gorgeous. Cool to see, who they can wrangle to get, a sequel going. John Leguizamo came back.
Yeah.
Ian McShane was in it. Common was in it. Lance Reddick came back. Lawrence Fishburne was in it. So, there was some cool people involved, and it looked gorgeous, and the fights were cool, and that's about all I wanted. So, I mean, that's what I liked.
I don't feel like John Leguizamo has like a lot of stuff to do anyway. So like
Yeah,
just to kind of like show up for a couple scenes in John Wick 2 doesn't surprise me. But I was really happy
sure.
to see him again. I like the callback to the first movie.
Yeah,
I like
especially since the beginning of this, before they explained that it was just a holdout from the end of the last one, I thought in the beginning of this it was like, oh, he had another dog and they killed his other dog. And it turns out that's not the case at all. It's just him still killing people from the first dog. So it was like, that was kind of funny. But like, John Leguizamo coming back to do his same exact job that he did last time was pretty. It was nice.
Okay.
So, what did you like about this one?
I really liked everything leading up to Italy. I liked the slow build of like, here let's talk to Santino D'Antonio about the job, the refusal, then the meeting him in the art gallery. I thought was really a really cool scene of like, you're thinking about how you can kill me, huh? And it's like, you use that guy's gun. It's like, no. I don't remember what happened.
You're counting the guards. You're counting the exits.
Yeah, that was like a fun little mind game scene in a really cool location. I enjoyed. It was shot with literally just them in front of a giant painting, right?
Yep.
Which was very very nice to look at. Then when they travel to Italy, the whole world building that they do of like the underground extends to Rome, and then like the guy comes out and is like, John Wick, I thought you were tired. Let me ask you one thing. Is it the Pope? And it's just like, what? No.
Yeah.
Like, okay, good. It was hilarious, right?
In that case, I'll give you a room.
Yeah. Like, it was funny. And then they have the sommelier and like the gun choosing the
Yeah, I
like,
really like that part a lot.
the guy with the keys to the catacombs and like the tailor and everything. I really enjoyed like them fleshing out the underground, which is
Yeah.
still very mysterious, and I really enjoyed that. I liked watching him take his time in setting up the escape route for his hit, and then I love the actual hit where it was like they're following him like sneaking around, going through all this stuff. I originally said I saw John Wick 1 because of Payday, right? The game, the heist game, and it just felt like a really fun heist. Like this just felt great.
Yeah.
Setting everything up, getting your escape route plan was great. Then the actual thing happens, then it builds and has that really great chase and fight going back to the thing where they have a professional courtesy and all that jazz. They have a drink, blah blah blah. And then it falls off for me. I only really enjoyed the first half. The second half for me just like I take complete and total issue with. Oh, one scene I loved when Cassius or whatever his name was. His name Cassius? The black guy who said is everything. The professional courtesy guy. Yeah, Cassian. Cassian
Yeah, common.
Cassian's trying to get revenge on John Wick in New York and is like quietly trying to kill him like just in very public places. And they're doing like silencer like shooting at each other just like in the World Trade Center subway station. Super funny. On the train they're just like eyeballing each other. That was a really good blend of like just very slow build up into like a big payoff kind of fight. On top of the fact that it was slowing down from all the other hits that had just kind of like occurred on his life before that.
Yeah.
So that drop in tempo was really nice, while at the same time keeping it so interesting with all like the almost slapstickian kind of visual gags they were doing with them trying to kill each other. Right?
Yeah.
Great stuff. And then I liked the last scene where they're like, I like the location of like where the last fight kind of takes place in like the Hall of Mirrors, but I was by the very end of it very inundated by just the visual stimulus and just the overaction. But I can still appreciate it from like removing myself from the movie, that what they tried to do, right?
Sure.
And those are the things I think I like the most of the movie. Oh, they had like a lot of fun, like here I am in all these different like New York locations. That was kind of fun. And that's it.
Yep.
Paul, what did you dislike about the movie?
I mean, I already kind of gave it away, but just like the dialogue's like it's ham-fisted. I mean, it is an action movie, and so they don't need to put as much emphasis on the dialogue, but it's like for as subtle as this movie can be, some of the times the dialogue is just like way over the top. Like Let me just find the actor's name who I was mentioning, who was,
Lawrence Fishburne.
no, I like Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, I take
He's like
issue with
this
his
German
performance.
guy who's been, Peter Stormare. So if you pull up Peter Stormare on IMDb, you will undoubtedly recognize him as the bad guy from the first scene who John Wick has a drink with.
Oh yeah,
That guy's a good actor, and he was just this, like, cartoon of a Russian blob that was just, it was like, dude.
I enjoyed it.
And that's the thing, is that, like, if this series of movies at certain times, didn't take itself so seriously, I would be totally fine with characters like him, like his brother's character from the first John Wick. But just, like, the, like, cartoonish way that they curse when they're expressing disdain for John Wick, or the way they, like, vacillate from calm and collected to this cartoonishly angry person. It's like, dude, you gotta pick one, man. I know movies can be multifaceted, but, like, something about the dialogue in these movies has rubbed me the wrong way both times. And that's the thing that sucks, is that, like, I'm sure that I probably could not write better dialogue. But it just seemed clunky. I don't know if it was the acting or if it was the dialogue itself.
That brings me to something I'd like to mention too, but just to
Yeah.
piggyback off of what you just said. The whole beginning scene for me didn't work. That made me very apprehensive. I hope this is not like what's going to be like going forward. And unfortunately, outside of the Italy scene, which I've talked about just now in depth and at length, the rest of it's like that. Like the beginning with the cartoonish violence, but still trying to balance the really gritty, realist action with just straight up cartoonish bullshit.
Yeah,
that bothered
I think
me.
what didn't work for me was the kind of imbalance of that type of stuff, if that makes sense.
The what? Sorry, you cut out.
The imbalance of those two things.
Yeah, it didn't blend like to me.
Yeah, it didn't blend well, and it didn't transition between those very well. But at any rate, that's about the only thing. Is just like, I can't decide if it was the dialogue or the acting that accompanied the dialogue, but something about the performances in this one felt weird to me.
Well, if that's the only thing you didn't like about it, then... But I already have it kind of spoiled. You did like this movie. I was going to say, then you'll like the majority of this movie, because there was less emphasis on the dialogue. There was more, actually. Because they had the kind of James Bondish villain of the mind game Santino D'Antonio guy. Even though he wasn't even mind gamey, but he was like kind of given that persona in this movie, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah.
Now, was there anything else you wanted to mention before I get into my fucking long
No, I want to hear about what you disliked.
Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen.
The royal scroll is being unfurled as we speak.
So the beginning scene I really didn't like, where he's trying to get his car back in the Russian shop, where it's the continuation of John Wick 1, like you said. That all the fights were like whatever. Like here he is doing like silent assassinations to kind of like build up the intensity, right? I get it, but then when he's actually in the garage fighting dudes, like. He was just then Garrett wiring and killing a whole bunch of people and snapping necks. Then all of a sudden during the fights, he's like showing mercy and like not killing them and just like breaking arms and like disabling and not shooting anybody. Because the whole time I was like, how come none of these mobsters have guns? Also, like they have a big dumb car chase in the beginning, or kind of like derby, I would say more so, like where he's running and stuff. And then like that just had no intensity either, because you didn't capture me coming into a movie by watching like a car chase. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I wonder when this is going to be over so I can see what the movie's about. You know what I mean? And so that didn't get it for me. Then when he finally shoots that one Russian in the knees, and I'm like, this is John Wick we're talking about here. The guy who kills with no remorse.
Yeah.
What happened, and why didn't he use that sooner, and where was everyone else's guns? So that broke an immersion straight away, and I didn't like it. I felt the whole premise was very weak. Santino D'Antonio kind of bringing him back into the fold, and then like how he's kind of like forced to do this because the character played by Ian McShane, Winston, in the first one had this very mythic kind of role. Just kind of like the bookkeeper, the head of the hotel who just knows everything kind of guy. And
Yeah,
this
did
one,
we
he
ever
was just,
establish he owns the Continental, right?
yeah, or at least
in
the one
New
in New York. Yeah.
Okay.
So in this one, he was just very much more like whiny. His lines had no impact. They were not mythical or kind of like awe-inspiring. They weren't interesting. They're just like, we should have known better, or why did you do this? Just all stupid lines, right? Had nothing to kind of like make him larger than life, which he was in the beginning. So I really didn't like that. I loved Lance Riddick, the guy who plays, he goes, hello, Mr. Wick. You know, like, I forgot to say, I always like his performance. I fucking loved him in the first one. I really, really hated Lawrence Fishburne's role, because he said, like, balancing the cartoony with the realist in this. Lawrence Fishburne walks out like, well, if it isn't John Wick. Oh,
It was like
well,
it was
me.
like an episode of the Boondocks or something.
Worse. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good way of putting it. And he's like, I remember that time you cut my neck and said you can either hold it down and live or die. You gave me a choice, and now no one can sneak up on me. It's like, oh, what the fuck were they thinking? Everyone else was way more subtle and subdued.
Yeah.
One of the beautiful things about this...
I was waiting for Huey Freeman to pull out his double samurai swords.
Basically, that actually would have had more place in this movie. Just fucking do it. Have motherfucking John Wick have a samurai fight. It fits in this. Anyway...
We know he could handle the training.
Absolutely. Anyway. So then Lawrence Fishburne, and then his last line is like, get this man a gun. It was like, oh my fucking god. Like, so he pissed me the fuck off. I liked this whole hobo circuit of like hitmen. I thought that was kind of cool. But they literally just had Lawrence Fishburne come in and be horrible because they couldn't tell him to reshoot this, I think, because they were friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking hated it.
I like how passionate you are about that because
oh, dude,
that's something that bothered
me,
but I just didn't mention it because I was like, oh, I can get past this.
No, that made me really upset. After the Italy scene, because if we remember in John Wick 1, John Wick didn't take damage because he was so good at being a stealthy dude, right? And when the fights broke out, he was like taking cover and just was like, you know, it wasn't like the all army versus one, right? When they were fighting,
though, he did take a bunch of damage in that nightclub scene in the first one.
But when he took damage, he took damage. He got shot. He got stabbed. He got choked out. Whatever, right? Like there were legitimate consequences to being caught off guard or taking a hit, right? In this one, he legit just had invulnerable suit armor and then got shot by ARs and every gun, and then like. He got stabbed, which apparently pierces his suit, but like all bullets don't. Like he got shot by everything. Like by the end, like the first one, it was cool to see someone human, but just like absurdly good at what he does, do the hits with like a little help from his friends, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But this was just like I'm legit just like a video game character on very easy mode. All bullets bounce off of me or miss. In the most ridiculous way. And that was the entire second half of the movie, which brings me to another point. The second half of the movie is like an hour and a half long or like an hour 20 long. There were no breaks. Like, it was just full throttle. All you see is this guy getting shot and shooting for an hour and 20 minutes with only two real stops, really. Let me put it that way. Yeah. When he goes and meets, well, if it isn't John Wick, Lawrence Fishburne, and the dinner scene in the Continental when he's meeting Santino D'Antonio, and they're kind of having a standoff, and then he goes and sees Ian McShane in the park. The only two times the action stops. It's just so overwhelming with the action that you don't care. Nothing you see is going to impress you anymore because all you've seen is just more bang, bang, shoot 'em up, more people dying, and more, here's John fucking Wick just getting super duper shot and nothing happening. And it's like, you could not have done this in a more subtle way. And this is my another point where John Wick 1 had a budget of like very, very little, right? Very tiny budget. Yep. I don't have the figure in front of me. Maybe I should have looked it up. But we talked about it in the first podcast.
Yeah. Production budget for John Wick was $20 million.
And then John Wick 2, the production budget was
Was
isn't like 200 million or something. 40 million.
40 million. So it doubled its budget.
It doubled its
and
budget.
pretty much tripled its box office take so far.
So, in doubling its budget, I felt like they had a really solid thing going with like maybe the premise and like the hit. This is John Wick doing what John Wick does, as being a hitman, right? That was great to watch. But then you see John Wick as a motherfucking Man of Steel with the suit of fucking like what was Kubo and the magic guitar, or is like the armor, whatever.
Oh yeah.
He has the moon armor on, basically, and can't take fucking damage or something. I don't know. That fucking killed me. And this is where I get to, like I said, my last point, or not my last point, one of my other points, I think is suffered from having too big of a budget. Because when it was a lesser budget, they had to do more with what little they had, and just be more clever about how they did things and just have fun with it. Where in this one, I think they just had to say, "I have too much money. We have to blow it we have to blow the budget to justify our spending."
That's definitely probably the case.
Yeah, and so then they picked big set pieces to like film on, nothing but action, because it's just fuck it, let's just pay all the stunt guys, and just boom, 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 throw money at this at the very end, because the first half was done beautifully in a very interesting way. They told the story, the way it was shot, everything they were kind of getting across. Then the last part was all just blow the budget. Make this into Transformers.
Yep.
And that fucking killed me, because the first one was such a flawless action thing where, like, you know what I mean? Or in my opinion, because I know you have issues with it. But it has that very immersive, mythic sense that you can really just kind of get lost in. This one, you just lose it entirely by the end, because it's just so gaudy and over the top. Terrible.
Sure.
I hated how they had to justify him like being expelled from the Continental, because you already know you can't kill John Wick now, because he literally has just, I mean, in this movie probably murdered hundreds, if not 1,000 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just saw him gun down so many people, and like, I'll kill them all. You tell them to come after me, I'll kill them all. It's like, I'm sure you will, John, because you can't take damage. You're fucking invulnerable. Like, the only thing that might kill you is if your dog dies, or like, you suffer some.
Take the fucking cheat codes off, man.
Yeah. No one can shoot his head. No one can shoot that spot between his motherfucking, the lapels.
Yeah, right.
Why don't you have guns that shoot knives instead, since knives appear to pierce invulnerable armor, but it doesn't matter because he can get up and walk just fine after being stabbed in the kidney so many times. He's gonna need a fucking transplant after this. Like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, the complete break in tone with the first one is what really has me taking so much issue with it. If I were just seeing John Wick 2 as John Wick 1, I'd just say, oh, this is just a really dumb action movie. But I know where it came from. And the character I loved of John Wick 1 was practical. This is just completely the opposite. This is why I take so much issue with it. And I still like the world in which he inhabits, but that all gets pushed aside just to see John be unbreakable. Or, that gives him too much credit. Just to be fucking broken. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this movie made a lot of money and is still in the theaters as of this recording.
I'm sure it did.
So we can only assume that means that there's going to be a third one.
I mean, Transformers makes a lot of money too, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe they can either kind of strip it down to its roots in the third one, or
it won't happen.
break from form, maybe.
It's just going to get worse.
But I know that from listening to interviews and reading AMAs and stuff that Keanu Reeves has a really, really fun time making these movies. So
I'm sure he does.
And especially like prepping for them, that's got to be like a blast.
Like, if you can just keep pumping these out like every other year and just get fat stacks and fat checks, like this could be like their Fast and the Furious, right? Just John Wick.
Yeah,
I could totally see that. Just like have him go to another locale, have him go to Thailand and kill a bunch of people. Have him go to
go to like really gorgeous locations and see how many people you can kill each time.
Because you can't go to China because they won't let you film there, because you know what I mean.
Yeah. John Wick Chapter 25, Virginia Tech.
Whoops. Well,
oh, sorry, Cho already did that.
Oh, whoops. Anyway, so but I can see this like maybe spanning different locales to
Yeah.
be like the Fast and the Furious and just be
John
an
Wick
easy
saves the Super Bowl. John Wick saves London Bridge.
something like. I don't even know if it's saving anymore, but like,
No, yeah, I'm just
you know what I
fucking
mean?
around.
I
Yeah.
know. Like how the Rock can just collect forever on just being huge and in the Fast and the Furious forever.
Right.
Like this will just be Keanu Reeves and all the stunt doubles, just like basically their passive income forever. So good for you. You're gonna make your money, but I am
Yeah.
gonna really, really mourn the loss of what was built in the first one. I'm happy that they're gonna make money, honestly. But
Yeah,
I just,
I was actually gonna mention something about that. So, what do we think this says about groundbreaking movies that are big hits? Because I feel like when
it's
I
like La
think
La
about
Land, man. You gotta sell out. You gotta sell out to make it.
oh, I'm not gonna discuss. Neither am I going to see La La Land. So
Hey, man. I
no, I'll probably see it eventually. No, but like okay, so this one was a big hit. John Wick #1.
uh
John Wick 2 sold even more, so they're probably going to make a third one.
yes,
This formula seems like it's happened before,
it
and I
has.
can bring to you a few examples. Pirates of the Caribbean 1 is amazing. That movie was a groundbreaking movie in terms of storytelling, in terms of the special effects that were available at the time. Jack Sparrow was a really interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're on what? Pirates of the Caribbean 7? And those movies could not be shittier at this point.
But we have your favorite
John Wick
guy.
1 was amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
We have your favorite guy. Call it. This quote is
Oh,
called like
yeah.
from 1974 to your
What's
door.
his name? Anton Chigurh.
Yeah, Shigur. We have Shigur in this one.
What's his real name?
Shigur. I don't care.
Ah.
Because when I saw
That's
him
gonna
in the
kill me.
preview, I was like, "Hey,
Javier
Shigur."
Bardem, damn it.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
So that's happened with that one. Transformers
Yes.
1 was a really interesting movie that probably broke some special effects ground.
Yeah.
Every one of those since that has not been that great.
Yeah.
I will say I do enjoy Fast and the Furious now that they've kind of realized how ridiculous they are and they don't take themselves seriously anymore. But that was a really good movie. And then the couple following that were not great, and now they're back to being good. So it's like, I mean, I won't say they're back to being good, but they're like, at least they're entertaining and they continue making more and more money. So it's like, I think a function of how a series evolves is how aware they are of the audience's reaction, both in terms of really good reactions and really awful reactions.
John Wick cannot have the same longevity that those movies that you just mentioned will have because
Because it's so much more brutal and it's rated R.
No,
for starters.
also the fact that the movies that you just named off are all ensemble movies, or they have big casts. There's a lot of characters to like the Transformers. You got all the Autobots, Jack Sparrow, and the crew, and like those dudes. You know, like Johnny
The
Depp.
fat dude and the skinny dude.
Who's the fucking Legolas motherfucking guy? You have
Man, I'm
Legolas.
really blowing it with names right now.
It's okay. You have
I
Legolas
can't
and the
do
girl.
any names. Orlando Bloom.
Thank you. You have Orlando Legolas Bloom and the girl, right? And in Fast, you have the whole cast. But John Wick centers around one person, so in that way, it's more like what's that? Like not Towering Inferno, but the one with like Bruce Willis is like the unkillable guy who like stops terrorism, and that had like 8 spin-offs.
Yeah, Die Hard.
Die Hard. So this is gonna be like Die Hard, I can see. But even I haven't seen all the Die Hards. I think I might have
I've
only seen one or
of
two.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of them, the first or the second one. But that's how this will spin if it is going to. But it can't be like you said, the Transformers or Pirates, because there needs to be more people.
Yeah. And though, I mean, they are building themselves a pretty interesting cast of regulars. I mean, between Ian McShane being in there.
But he's gone.
Sorry.
He's like
Lance.
no one from the Continental we're gonna see that much more of.
Yeah, true that. I liked Lance Reddick as you did. Yeah, I guess there's not going to be that many more.
Exactly. So
But yeah,
where this goes from here is really in the air.
it's up in the air, just like George Clooney and Anna Kendrick.
It would be fun to see this like take on some international stuff. Like just being in Rome was kind of cool, but like
Yeah. I will say though, I don't mean to shit on the whole diversity is profitable myth in Hollywood, but Triple X State of the Union tried really hard. Sorry, Triple X Return of Xander Cage tried really hard to incorporate an international cast, taking people like Tony Jaa and the guy who played Ip Man, and that movie was pretty tough to watch.
yeah, see, but then there's the problem of inserting it just for the sake of getting mass market appeal, which is the only reason why
Yeah.
you'd cast like Ip Man or those guys.
Yeah,
But
so Donnie Yen, who I believe played Ip Man the first time, right? Is that not right?
I think Donnie
Yeah,
Yen
he was
did,
Ip,
yeah.
okay. He was Ip Man, and then Tony Jaa, who is of course famous for those delightful Muay Thai movies. Deepika Padukone, like all of those actors are gonna sell Return of Xander Cage a bunch of tickets worldwide, but because of the fact that they could not manufacture chemistry if they had a million years between all of those characters who don't share a common language except for English, it was just awkward the whole time. And I feel like
But you know what
so
was
you
really
got it's a
interesting
tough
about the
if it's a tough line to walk if you're putting in international actors to make things more interesting.
But we've seen it kind of work with John Wick 1, but you know, we can't go back to the first because a lot of that was actually spoken in Russian, right? A lot of it was like, I mean, most of it was in English, but it's hard to appeal to people to read subtitles like that.
Yeah.
Which is why I can see like taking on a little bit more of an international flavor, or if they were to go to a country like Russia and then they're the Russian mob and they're speaking more Russian, that would make sense because you already have John Wick speaking Russian there in the subtitle. Then hey, look, we got Russian actors and it's in Russia. How cool is that? Or hey, we're in Japan.
Keanu Reeves has some Japanese in him.
Yeah, he's half.
It would be cool to maybe have them fight the Yakuza or something like that.
Bro, that'd be awesome. Then you can get the Kill Bill shit in there with like some awesome samurai duels.
Oh yeah, that would be really great.
Yeah, that'd be
We
funny.
talk about how they should have cast someone who can do better kung fu for Kill Bill.
Oh, then
Uma Thurman.
Uma Ugly, yeah.
Oh. Oh.
I enjoy the Kill Bills because they are so campy and it has
They're supposed to be like that 70s exploitation kung fu movie.
where the white
Type
person
stuff.
goes to Asia and masters the art and kills every other Asian person who actually is from Asia.
Yeah. Netflix
like-
Iron Fist coming this March.
But it makes perfect sense in the context of what they're trying to do because it's like it's done in a loving kind of like
Yeah, it's a very
we're going for
sort
this.
of,
Yeah.
yeah.
It would be fun to see the John Wick crew do shit like that. That's where I can see it growing, where I would then be more interested in seeing like, okay, let's see what crazy gang he's in this crazy locale. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
only way I'd see it. But the John Wick I loved is dead.
Yeah.
To where he can go from here, I can only see it going international. And that's
Yep.
I
think
good
that's
thing.
pretty reasonable. That's
Yeah,
reasonable to expect.
Yeah, I don't want them to like fuck. He goes to South America and takes on the drug cartels or something. That would be kind of interesting. You have
That
fucking
would be funny.
that would be like already unkillable John Wick. But I mean, you don't have to make him a moral hero. You don't have to be the guy who's like, I'm anti-drugs. I'm going to stop the drug people. Because his whole reason for killing the mob wasn't because they were bad guys. It's because they
It
killed
was
his
like
dog.
a really petty reason. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just for
They
revenge.
stole my car and killed a dog I've known for a day.
Yeah. And then this one, they try to give it more substance because, he set him up. And that makes way
Yeah.
more sense.
It's also tough that every character that is memorable, he either gets disconnected from by virtue of him being banned from places or whatever, or they die. So
Yeah,
it's-
exactly. John Wick 1, the standalone was perfect because
Yeah.
you brought in the Hobgoblin, whatever his fucking name is,
Yeah, Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe, who's perfect, nailed it right. For as little time as he was on, he had so much presence, and you feel like he was so necessary for the story. Or this, you don't got any of that, none of it. So I don't know. That's going to be a problem going forward. is just having characters that can stick around that aren't just gonna be like, Willem Dafoe, no, like,
Yep.
because that's the only place they could take it. Oh, there was also one other thing I wanted to point out. There was a Payday 2 reference in this movie.
Was there?
Yeah,
I've never played Payday 2, so.
When they're doing calling all hitmen, John Wick is wanted for $1 million or whatever. There's a poster behind one of the persons who answers the phone, and it's the Payday mask. And I was wondering if maybe
nice.
that was Payday had like their own little shorts, like just to open the game, which they would rotate or like it would be new every time.
Yeah.
Or they had like their own like web series too. And I didn't get a good look at him because I was too busy freaking out about the mask. If maybe the person who was in front of that poster was one of the actors from the shorts, because John Wick 2
cool.
and these guys have like an interesting relationship or John Wick and Payday 2 guys have an interesting relationship.
Yeah.
But that's something I can only look at after the fact when this movie's out and I can kind of see that scene again and kind of like maybe someone else has done the research and kind of look through that. But we'll see.
Alrighty. Well, would you recommend this one?
It's been so long, Paul. You go first. Would you recommend this movie?
I would recommend it if you liked the other one, but like you said, it is kind of like an unrelenting, overwhelming slew of action the second part of the movie.
Yeah.
Without a lot of breaks for a breath or anything like that. But granted, a lot of the action is still pretty cool. Yeah, I'd recommend it, but not as much as the first one.
Yeah. If you want just dumb action, this is perfect.
Yeah.
If you like John Wick 1 for the same reasons I did, you'll find this pretty heartbreaking. I would only recommend it if you can see this like on Netflix, basically, because I wouldn't want to watch this on cable where all the action is cut and sliced up, and I wouldn't want to pay for this in any way because it's just too much. It's too overbearing of just nonstop action.
Yeah.
So watch it on Netflix or stream it if you can. That's my only recommendation.
Sure. Alrighty, well, I guess we'll be coming back pretty soon here with some more talking about some more movies. We'll have a little talk and see what else we're going to be watching soon, and then we'll see everybody next time.
Yes, sir. I have been Anson Chan.
My name's Paul Morgan.
And thank you for listening.
Hey, thanks.